Hello everyone, class is very much in session. My name is Jack from Cultaholic.com and it's time to take a look at Monday Night Raw Graded, a very interesting edition of Monday Night Raw this week because, well, for various reasons. One, it's the post-Evolution Monday Night Raw, that wonderful women's show, in my opinion, all women's pay-per-view on Sunday night, which was, I think, one of the best main roster pay-per-views of the entire year as well. Also, it's the go-home show, kind of, for Crown Jewel, hooray! And also, it's coming off the back of last week's Raw, which was a very, very intense, emotional, at times very serious, and at times, you know, harrowing show as well. So could this Raw live up to those impossible expectations? No. But could it get anywhere close to that? We shall find out. So Baron Corbin hit the ring carrying the now vacant Universal Championship, and he basically said, you know what, I wish Roman Reigns all the best in his battle against leukemia, but if he comes back, I hope it's not Monday Night Raw. Whoa, what? Hang on. Whoa. I mean, there's heel heat and then there's heel heat as well. Anyway, Brock Lesnar's music hit, he and Paul Heyman hit the ring. Corbin tried to hype Lesnar up and Heyman went, give me that microphone now, this is my job. You stand there and listen to me. And it, you know, it kind of worked. Heyman basically, in his Paul Heyman way, said, you know, he did all the hype and the bluster and the that thing that you can't. What was that? You know, he did all the Brock Lesnar, but like, basically, I'll give you the abridged version of what he said. He said, Brock's going to win a crown jewel. Then Braun Strowman came out and said, no, I'm going to win a crown jewel because Brock, you're going to get these hands, boy. Eyebrows on fleek. Then he got in the ring, and then Baron Corbin tried to get between them to sort of act as a peacekeeper, and he kind of shoved Strowman back a little bit. So Strowman shoved him out the way, and then Corbin came back and hit him from behind, and then Strowman hit Corbin with like 5 power slams. Or maybe 6, like a lot of power slams sequentially, one after another. Then, with Strowman distracted by spamming power slam on Corbin again and again and again, Brock Lesnar spun him round and hit him with the F5, and that was the end of the opening segment. I'm going to give this a C+. I thought it made Braun Strowman look stupid. All we know about Braun Strowman, right, and all that we've been conditioned to know about Braun Strowman ever since he moved to kind of singles competition away from the Wyatt family, is that when he's in a feud with somebody, nothing stands in his way. Not security teams, not walls, not production trucks, nothing. He'll often crash through walls, in fact, to get to his foe. And now that he's face to face with Brock Lesnar in the ring, he decides now is the right sort of time to start playing mind games and start hitting Baron Corbin with power slams to demonstrate to Brock just how strong and dominant he is. And Brock obviously went, all right, I'll wait until your back's turned and then I'll hit you with my finisher. I didn't get it. And it sort of set the tone for this week's Raw because, as you'll come to see, nothing quite worked as it maybe have should. So next up we had Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley. On his way down to the ring, making his entrance, Balor passed Corbin, being helped to the back by 2 referees, and he sort of gave him a mocking too sweet. I love little interactions like that. I think it gives the show little bits of flavour and little bits of character all over the place. What's that over there? A little interaction between 2 superstars passing on the ramp when they're not even in the same segment? Delicious, crunchy, get in my belly right now. But yes, this was a rematch from last week where Finn Balor defeated Bobby Lashley, rolling him up for a clean pinfall victory, which was a surprising one given the fact that Lashley has only recently turned heel, and it sparked all these rumours and reports that Lashley is nursing an injury and could potentially be taking some time out in the future. But after this show, I don't know if that's going to be quite as much of a certainty as we all thought last week. The reason for this is that while Balor won the match because Lio Rush pushed him off the corner when he was going for the coup de grace and won by DQ, it's actually Lashley who seems to be adopting a more prominent role going forwards because they headed backstage and Lio Rush got a text from Baron Corbin while they were in the ring as if it was like GM mode or something. They headed to the back and Corbin basically went, you know what, Lashley, you've impressed me so much beating up Finn Balor, who I hate, by the way, that I'm going to put you in the World Cup tournament to decide the best in the world at Crown Jewel. He's replacing John Cena. So I have no choice really, I think, but to give this one of those question mark grades because this isn't about the match, is it? The match was fine. Balor looked slick. Lashley looked pretty good. They seem to have quite a decent chemistry together, but this isn't about the match, is it? This is about John Cena refusing to wrestle in Saudi Arabia, given the ongoing political situation. Fair play to him. He's one of the biggest superstars able to do it, and he has done it. Now, I don't know what to grade this because normally, under normal circumstances, I'd be like, oh, this is very short-sighted booking, and oh, it's not very imaginative at all, is it? But I honestly don't know what choice WWE really had, apart from, like, you know, not promote Cena at the event so far in advance, or maybe just maybe not do the event. Whatever, it's not my place to say. I just don't know what to grade this. I'm giving it a question mark. It's not about the match, it's about the fact that Cena is being replaced in the tournament. Next up, basically a house show match featuring all the babyface winners from the tag team matches at Evolution against all the heel losers from the tag team matches at Evolution. So we had on the babyface side, we had Lita, Trish Stratus, Bayley, Sasha Banks and Natalya. On the heel side, we had all three members of the Riott squad. We had Alicia Fox and we had Mickie James with Alexa Bliss at ringside. To be honest, I don't really know if I agree with this match taking place. I get it, it was fun and it was house showy and there were some cool moments like Lita and Bayley hitting stereo twists of fate, and then Lita hit the moonsault, and then Natalya got the sharpshooter on. They all hit, their signature fun spots and they got a win over the heels and everyone loved it. Natalya got the win, by the way, with the sharpshooter, but at the same time, I don't know what the heels did in storyline to justify getting another shot at the baby faces, because they all got really outclassed at Evolution. I don't really understand. But in terms of a grade, I'm going to give this one a B-. I'll tell you why, because I thought it was better than the Trish and Lita match at Evolution, but I thought it was worse than the 6-woman tag match at Evolution. And if you look at the grades I gave those two matches, I've gone somewhere down the middle for this one. Logic, it all makes sense, it all links. This isn't a series about reviewing wrestling shows, this is like Lost. It's all going to come full circle soon, and then unravel again, and then come full, and then unravel, and then mixed opinions at the end. Next up, oh my goodness, well, what I've decided to do is we had the Elias segment and then we had a match straight after it, and rather than grade the two separately like I sometimes would, because the match was about 4 minutes long, I've just decided to shove them together. But first, we got to Elias in the ring, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be good, because obviously he turned face last week, and I was very excited to see what babyface Elias was gonna do. And then, then some stuff happened. So Elias basically recaps what happened last week, where he smashed his guitar over Baron Corbin's back. He said it hurt to, destroy one of his guitars, but at the same time, it was totally worth it, bro, because he's cool and he managed to beat up an authority figure. Rock and roll, high school's out for summer, get the party poppers going. So Elias then went backstage and, right, so Dana Brooke walked past and asked him to play her a song and he was like, no. Then a guy with a chocolate cake walked past and he went, take that to my trailer. And then he got out, I don't know what's going on, like honestly, I'm not hallucinating, this is actually what happened last night on Raw. Then he got outside Baron Corbin's office, played a bit of a song, Corbin came along and obviously was like, well, you're playing a song that's insulting me, I'm just gonna go away. So Corbin, in my opinion, did a very fair thing and just shut the door in Elias's face, and Elias was annoyed about that. He was like, no, you need to listen to me playing this song that's insulting you. I was fully team Baron Corbin here. I thought that Elias was being a bit of a dick. Then Elias was jumped by Jinder Mahal, who I guess is sort of allies with Baron Corbin. They're both heels and they've kind of worked together on segments in the past. Corbin was grateful, booked Jinder versus Elias in a match right now, and then Elias won a sort of 3-4 minute match with the drift away. I'm gonna give this a C-. I'm not angry, and it wasn't that bad. I'm just disappointed. This could have been so much better than it was, I think. I feel like Elias as a babyface had so much potential for anything other than whatever this was. First of all, I don't get the bit with Dana Brooke and the chocolate cake. Is that what Vince thinks that cool babyfaces do? That they refuse requests from women to play songs and also love chocolate cake? Is this some kind of cartoon? Is this like Johnny Bravo or something? Also, I don't really, the match was okay. It was Jinder versus Elias, and I don't really understand what they're going for with Elias's character now. It's all been kind of thrown off a little bit, and I'm a little bit worried for him actually. It's gonna be not too long before he's filling briefcases with slime and calling people sparkle crotch, and oh no. Oh, if that happens, I'll be sad. Next up, we had a 3-way tag team match between the Authors of Pain with, of course, Drake Maverick, The Ascension, and Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, who haven't broken up yet, against all odds. How surprising. Now, the start of this match was actually really action-packed. It was a little bit reminiscent of the old AOP versus DIY versus Revival matches in NXT, because as the Authors of Pain got to the ring, the two smaller teams thought, nah, we can't let them, they're too big and strong, we've got to jump them now. And they jumped them before the bell, and I was like, this is kicking off. Few moves were thrown in, it was all high-paced and frantic. Massive commercial break, just right when the momentum was getting going. I guess the action was decent from what little action there was to see. There was only about a minute of wrestling here, but you know what? It was a hot minute of wrestling. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable got the win with some nifty double team stuff, especially like Gable hit a Chaos Theory and Roode sort of scooched down next to him and hit a neck breaker at the same time. They got the pinfall on, I think, Victor of the Ascension. It certainly wasn't one of the Authors of Pain, and yeah, it didn't last long, but it was explosive for a few brief seconds. I'm going to actually give this a B-, which doesn't sound too generous on the surface, but considering we saw about a minute of action here, I think that's a pretty strong grade. I liked it. I liked the whole Bobby Roode and Chad Gable double team thing. They're doing really well now all of a sudden. Maybe they'll fall apart in the future again, who knows. I like that it potentially sets up Roode and Gable versus the Authors of Pain. That's a feud I'd be quite interested in seeing. Yeah, all the wrestlers seem to really do well in this brief match, but whoever gave the tag division such little time really didn't do so well. Next up, Seth Rollins hit the ring, the man that we've all been waiting to see ever since he was jumped, turned on, betrayed by Dean Ambrose last week. Yeah, he hit the ring and he said, well, first of all, he put over the crowd for giving all their support to Roman Reigns and everything in his battle with leukemia, which of course is a nice and necessary thing to say. But then he sort of went, oh, and last week I won the Raw Tag Team Championship for the 3rd time. Hooray! But then he said, of course, that the victory wasn't so sweet because Dean Ambrose turned on him, and not just him. Oh no. He turned on all of us. Rollins then demanded that Dean come out here and explain his actions from last week, and Ambrose's music hit, but he didn't come out the entranceway, he was just in the crowd. It was kind of cool, it was kind of like, oh, he doesn't want to get close to him, but it was kind of, he's still watching him from afar. It was kind of distant and creepy. I liked it. I thought it was quite a good choice of staging. Rollins basically ranted and raved at Ambrose, while Ambrose did not say a single word in retaliation, which again, I thought was quite a clever technique to make Ambrose look a bit unhinged and a bit strange and also regretful at the same time. Rollins called him a bastard. I don't know where that like ranks in amongst bitch in terms of PG WWE like swearing. Is it worse than bitch or better? I don't know. I think it's probably a little bit more intense than bitch. And Rollins basically then, a thing that I didn't too much agree with was the fact that he brought the Reigns thing back into this feud and said, you know, oh, this was the show where Roman announced that he had leukemia, but you had to make it all about you. And I don't like that, really. I like the idea of Ambrose kind of not being able to live with the betrayal that Seth did 4 years ago and having to do it back to him. And even though he hates that he's done it, you know, it's consumed him and the hatred and the anger and everything. I think that's the storyline. They don't need all this other stuff with Roman. That's a bit cheap for me. I didn't really like it. I don't want Ambrose to be like some evil dick. I think that the best villains are the ones that are more human. And, you know, it was a weird segment for me, this one. Seth then threatened to go after Dean and sort of beat the answers out of him, but Ambrose just sort of turned around and walked off, and Seth was left in the ring like, man, you have to wait for my answers. I'm going to give this segment a B+. Yeah, a B+, because Rollins and Ambrose did really well. Ambrose didn't have any lines, but he looked really cool. He looked shaken and angry and all the mixed emotions that you'd expect him to be feeling right now. Rollins spoke really well. It doesn't get an A grade or an A- or anything just because I don't agree with the inclusion of the Roman Reigns stuff. I think that if any feud didn't need any sort of other factors to make it entertaining, it's this one. Rollins and Ambrose's history is intense enough without having to bring something very real and raw into play here. I think that they should have just stuck with the whole you betrayed me 4 years ago, I'm betraying you now, that sort of thing, you know? But the two guys still did really well, and I hope they just sort of tone back that Roman Reigns stuff in the future. Next up, Nia Jax versus Ember Moon, the last two competitors in Evolution's Battle Royal. Of course, Nia Jax won, to the surprise of many, including myself, who thought that Ember Moon was going to win. But hey, wrestling's fun for everyone because we don't know the answers before they happen. Now, before this segment, a little bit earlier last night, Ember Moon actually challenged Nia Jax backstage, and Nia acted a little bit condescending, a little bit prickish, right? Nia was a little bit of a dick here to Ember Moon, and I always find it jarring when they do this with Nia. We saw it at WrestleMania when she had this big emotional babyface victory over Alexa Bliss, and then turned around and was a dick to Ronda Rousey and was like, you'll never get in this title. Not just in a competitive sort of fighting champion way, in a bit of a heelish way too. This looks like it could be happening again here, maybe. We had the big emotional win for Nia Jax at the Battle Royal at Evolution, where she was crying in the interview afterwards and everything, and it was a great moment. And now she's being a bit of a dick to Ember Moon. And it's just like, I don't want this. I just want Nia to be consistent, you know? She doesn't need to be like the female Big Show, turn in like multiple times a year and everything. Just let her be a heel or a face, or being the operative word there. The match wasn't great, like neither woman did anything particularly bad. It just seemed a little bit lethargic, especially compared to their work at the Battle Royal last night, which was great, especially their little mini match at the end of the Battle Royal. So these two can work together really well. I just don't really feel like they did or were given the time to on Monday Night Raw. Then Tamina came out and both Ember and Nia sort of stopped and looked at each other, and then Nia just ran over and just punched Ember and then like pinned her Tamina got in the ring, stared at Nia for a bit, and then left. And it's meant to be that sort of, ooh, are they working together or are they against each other thing. I really, really didn't like this segment, nor the previous bit with Nia acting a bit heelish towards Ember. So I'm going to give this a D, I'm afraid. Sounds harsh, and I'm a fan of both women in the match, but felt slapdash to me. Next up, wait a second, dream match out of nowhere, the Lucha House Party, my boys Kalisto and my ultra boy Lince Dorado, with Gran Metalik with them as well, against the Revival. What? Where did this come from? And why am I living in a world where why am I lucky enough to be living in a world where it's going on? I can't talk. This is a dream match. This is literally a dream match for me. So the Cruiserweights are back on Raw sometimes, apparently. I don't know, I guess. I'd honestly like to see these two teams wrestle for 25-30 minutes in an Iron Man, Iron Team match. Unfortunately, this match was a little bit short, and you know, both teams are great and I love them, but at the same time, I just wanted to see it go longer. And I get why it didn't, you know, it had no build to it. It was a little bit filler on Raw, but, you know, I just wanted to see more of it. B-, because it was a good match. The Lucha House Party won, which hints to me that maybe the Cruiserweights are going to get more of a shot on Raw again in the future. Who knows? Not nice to see the Revival lose in just a few minutes, but I can excuse it this time. And that's probably why it doesn't get a B or a B+, and also because it only lasted a couple of minutes. But it was one of the more exciting things on the show, I think. B-, I feel is a fair grade. Next up, Dolph Ziggler hit the ring with Drew McIntyre and basically cut a promo where he said he's the best in the world. CM Punk reference there, ooh. And also that he's going to win the World Cup to determine the best in the world in Saudi Arabia. Now, does he need to win that World Cup when he's already said he's the best in the world? Spoilers, we already know who it is. It's Dolph Ziggler. So does he really need to even compete in the tournament? This brought out Apollo Crews, who had another short but okay match with Ziggler, where Ziggler was overconfident. Crews nearly caught him a couple of times, but then eventually Ziggler picked up the victory. And again, this was another very short match on a show full of them. It was weird. I'm going to give this one a B- as well. Sorry if it feels as we get towards the end of this show that I'm not putting as much effort into these segments. It's not that. It's just that I don't feel like the segments have much effort put into them. There's not a lot to report on, really, when it's just sort of one-dimensional stuff. I'll talk about it in the outro. We've still got a little bit left to go. So finally, we had the closing segment of Monday Night Raw, the go-home segment for Crown Jewel. We had the Brothers of Destruction and D-Generation X, but DX weren't there yet. You know, the Kane and Undertaker came out first and cut that promo that they cut, like, they've cut several times over the course of this feud already, where they said they're either going to make Shawn and Triple H retire, or they're literally going to kill them. And I can't quite work out which one they mean, but because they're professional wrestlers, I think they mean they're going to beat them and make them retire rather than actual homicide, I think. So then Triple H comes out and he's all like, whoa, you talk a big game, but wait a second, I'm on my own. He said all this with his body language, by the way. He wasn't on the mic going, oh, I'm the game. He sort of was like, oh, well, I'm here now, but where's Shawn? And then he was like, I'm going to go and look for him. And then he turned around on the ramp and then he turned back and went, oh, there he is. And Shawn was behind Undertaker. Oh, sweet chin music. And then DX were like, yeah. And then Undertaker sat up and him and Kane looked really scary in the ring. And then DX just left and that was it. That was it. That was literally all this segment was. I'm giving this a C-, and it sounds harsh, but after so many little nothing bits of Raw this week, we close it with a big bit of nothing on Raw this week. So yeah, C- closes it. Let's just move on and let's just get to the overall grade, come on. So this week's Monday Night Raw gets, oh, it's so harsh. Gets a D. I really didn't enjoy this week's Raw. And also, if you go through the grades that I've assigned this week and gone, oh, he's given them a B- there and a C- there, yes, it probably does average out to above a D. But the whole ethos of the show, the general atmosphere I got from this Raw was that there was little effort put in behind the scenes. Not by the wrestlers, I'm sure they did everything that was asked of them, but the booking and the writing of this, I think, was lazy and just another show to spin the wheels on and kill time until the greatest, not the greatest Royal Crown Jewel, you know what I mean, the Saudi show. And I just didn't like it. I thought it was a nothing show, apart from maybe the appearance of the Cruiserweights. But that aside, and Lesnar sort of appeared, but that aside, not really a lot to get your teeth into here. This is one of the more forgettable Raws in a very long time. So thank you very much for watching this rather disappointing edition of Raw Graded. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me if you want to, by the way, on Twitter at JackTheJobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic and check out our Patreon as well if you wish. Patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, if you haven't already, to hit subscribe and to join us.